Welcome to Harper Fox Trailblazer Talks. In today's episode, we are discussing the importance of nutrition on performance and well-being, and are joined by the phenomenal Dr Sunni, founder of Dash Deets. Welcome.
Hi Scarlett, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to talk about all things well-being.
Thank you. So first of all, tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you came to founder Dash Deets.
God, so how long do you have?
It
started from a very long journey where I first turned kind of a passion project of food and well-being into now kind of my own founded company. I've had Crohn's and inflammatory bowel disease for over 7 years. And I kind of just struggled through the corporate ladder, just thinking, right, my health shouldn't be the first thing that I focus on. It's about how do I be the best leader for the organization and the people that work with me and for me. And I just didn't really look after my health. Fast forward to 2020, 2021, I was hospitalized twice during lockdown. And that gave me my epiphany that more needs to be done in the workplace. And if I don't really invest in my health, what are other people doing out there? So Dash Deets was born. It's about dishes cooked in a dash with all the deets.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so there's a lot of focus on deets. So it's not always about how we focus on food, but it's all aspects of well-being.
So tell us a little bit more about Dash Deets, and I know you brand yourself as a health coach, so what does that mean?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So it started off on a particular aspect of specialty, which was gut health. So Dash Deets works on the art of being gut healthy. So we invest a lot of money on our external looks, we'll put it on cosmetics, we'll go to the gym. But what about our own gut and our well-being? I think it's a luxury we should all be able to afford and invest in. So it started off with that core value, and it's now kind of grown into kind of 3 verticals. So it's about coaching. So I'm a health coach focusing on holistic well-being for corporations and individuals and executive leaders, where I look at food, lifestyle, aspects of movement, hydration, you name it, we really do a deep dive. Then there's the food aspect, because I live for everything food.
Me too.
So exactly. So that's where we have a common goal. And that's working with organizations to develop recipes so that we can be a bit more gut healthy and add more plants in our diet. And then I have an education kind of arm as well. So I love everything education. I'm a bit of a geek, I'm afraid. But I love educating youngsters to even adults and kind of, again, the corporate world through different workshops and events. And how do we really optimize our well-being through other things other than just learning and development or mental health?
And that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So I think a really good place to start is to understand what is gut health.
Yeah, and it's a really common question that I get asked all the time. So we have this misconception that the gut is really just the stomach, because a lot of people, unfortunately, when they talk about gut health, they think it's toilet behaviours. But the gut really is from the moment we actually eat food, so from the mouth to the point we go to the toilet. And it's maintained by this complex environment, which is by the gut microbiome. Now, I don't want to switch you off, Scarlett, because there's a lot of science to it. But there's 100 trillion microorganisms that actually kind of keep a good balance of our gut. And gut health is so important because it's about getting a really good optimum balance of those microorganisms. And that's what I focus on. A lot of people think it's just about food, but it's not. It's the way we kind of operate, the environment we work in, the stress management, sleep. Gut health really is linked to everything. Mental health, our lung health, everything, you name it. The gut is really the second brain.
Yeah, so I've heard that. I have to say, that's actually really interesting. Like, I never thought for 1 second the gut basically starts from, it's the esophagus then, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the mouth, essentially.
The mouth,
Because when we start eating food, it starts off in the brain. You're thinking about food, it starts the digestive process going. People just assume, I've eaten something, my gut health is determined by actually how my stomach feels after. But you can get lots of issues starting from the mouth anyway. So it's a really complex and interesting part, which, as much as I think a lot of people are thinking about gut health, we don't think about the context in the workplace, which I think is a really underutilized opportunity.
Well, I was just going to touch on that then. So tell me, what are maybe some of the impacts, first of all, of poor gut health?
Yeah, so it's a really good question again. So I think if we split it up to first nutrition, so nutritionally, we know in the course of the day, each employee probably eats around about a third of their calorie daily kind of intake in a day. Yes. So if you think actually 1/3 third of your day is focused on your work and what you eat at work. Yeah. We need to optimize what we're eating. And nutritionally, we know that a lot of our kind of impact on absenteeism, poor work, kind of productivity, morale is actually linked to nutrition. So 66% of poor outcomes at work can be linked to nutrition alone. Wow. Yeah, so if you just look at huge. Exactly, so just that's nutrition. Now the gut is such an amazing, I won't call it an ecosystem because it has so many organs, but that ecosystem is responsible for kind of brain health, mental health, skin health, lung health, not just digestion. So it really helps us in terms of productivity, our mood. So the gut in itself creates 90% of serotonin. It's not created in the brain. Gosh. Yeah. So, if you want to feel good and you want to be living a good life, the gut really is the way to go forward.
So, look, this is
mind blown.
Mind is blown. Cutting straight to it. What do we need to do to have good gut health? Is that the $1 million question?
It is a $1 million question. I think first starts off with awareness, the fact that we should be talking about it more. So I kind of mentioned already in the mainstream. Well, exactly. Yeah. Because if you look at health and wellness industry, we're slowly talking about gut health. But that's really to the mainstream consumer, the one that's really savvy and wanting to kind of be better at kind of their overall long-term health. But in the workplace, nobody talks about gut health. And I've kind of slowly did it in some of my workplaces. And when you start opening that conversation, people want to talk about it and start thinking, actually, because I don't feel well in my gut, it's not actually having a good link with kind of the way I'm working or the way I'm interacting with colleagues. So there's a lot of kind of impact on the gut and why we should be talking about it. But I think the first step to your kind of question is talk about it. Yeah. So be aware about it. And there's kind of really easy ways. So I have a system which I've called the 5 pillars of gut health. So one is about eating and nutrition. You've got to be really conscious of what you're actually kind of feeding the gut. So add probiotics, prebiotics, fiber.
Which are like?
So probiotics are things like kimchi, kefir water, tofu, miso.
Okay, tofu I've heard of.
Yes, everyone. Okay. It's one of those Marmite foods. Sauerkraut's amazing.
Okay, yeah.
It's things that have a source of live bacteria because we want to keep replenishing our sources of bacteria in our gut. So we always think bacteria is a bad loaded term,
but there is good bacteria.
Yeah, millions and trillions of good gut bacteria.
Okay.
So that's the first pillar that I work with Dash Deets. Second one is hydration. It's really important we're getting our 3 litres of water a day. Yeah. Cheers. It's like product placement. Sponsored by water.
Water, H2O.
Yeah, exactly. And we know that just generally, regardless of gut health, the brain needs good hydration as well. It's fatty tissue. Yeah. A lot of vitamins that we take are water soluble. So if you're not even have enough water in your system, you're not going to actually maximize nutritional absorption. Okay. So that's hydration. Okay. Movement. Yes. I think this is something that a lot of workplaces are talking about generally, but there's not enough practices in how do you make sure you're actually adding movement in a work day or your daily lifestyle. We know, and a lot of people know this, if you work out, you get endorphins. Yeah. But there's much more to that. It actually helps your general biochemical balance, your physical balance. Exercise is good just as a de-stressor because the gut is linked to your brain by the nervous system. So if you can actually help your fight and flight response by exercise, then that's actually a good way to go. Okay. My 4th pillar is stress management and quality of life. So we really need to look at, and this really common adage, right? If you're in work, you're going to be stressed. But there's definite practices that we can put in place because the gut really does react to bad stress. So, like if you have an exam, if you have an interview, if you're pitching for a new client, you get those butterflies. Yeah. That's the gut and the brain kind of communicating, saying, right, there's something going on here. Your central nervous system is kicking in.
So is that like a flight or fight response?
Yes, it really is. Yeah, so that's how the sympathetic system works. A lot of people say, well, I'm feeling sweaty, I've started feeling cramps, or like kind of those butterflies. It is your body going into that fight response like the Neanderthals did at the caveman days. Yeah. This is the modern day way of dealing with stress. We don't have dinosaurs now, we have meetings to kind of deal with the deadlines.
Sometimes it's that.
Exactly. Right? And then my last one is about habits, and I think that's a really important aspect. And I don't mean habits in terms of maintaining good kind of rigor and discipline. Yeah. It's in terms of mindfulness, awareness, intuitive eating, and also understanding your toilet habits. So as much as I know this is really stigmatized and it's taboo, we really do need to open up the conversation around toilet behavior because that's where we start picking up things like gut health issues.
If something's not quite right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are my 5 pillars, and that hopefully shows you kind of the structure of good gut health and how you can get to the stage of optimizing your health overall.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. And actually quite a few of those pillars that you mentioned are things that I probably would have guessed,
Yes.
but actually hadn't realised how much they impact the gut, and hadn't realised how much the gut impacts everything else.
Exactly.
So it's actually really interesting.
And I think in isolation, people understand like diet and nutrition.
Yeah,
In all aspects
yeah.
of the world, you want good diet and nutrition. But if you put them all together,
Yeah,
it
that's the
makes
formula.
sense. Exactly, and that is the formula.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's kind of coming to my mind straight away is that you are obviously, very senior, big corporate company that you used to work for. I work with a lot of executives. Actually, a lot of these execs, and actually people in general, under huge amounts of stress, maybe travelling quite a lot with work, may or may not be having lunch. If they are having lunch, they're grabbing something quickly, sometimes on the road. Is there any advice that you...
Stop now.
big question.
Yeah.
But is there any advice that you could maybe give to that type of profile of person? I think anyone could resonate anyway, even if you're a busy mum at home with children. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's a really clear and valid point there. You don't have to be an executive to have a stressful life.
No, definitely not.
Life has this wonderful thing of making us all kind of either G up with kind of exhilaration or put us down when we've got so many things to juggle.
Yeah.
I think the first thing is to take stock. Instead of everyone thinking, okay, just give me the formula and just make me do things and I'll do it. First, recognize what's working for you and what isn't. Because my triggers of stress are going to be different to yours.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people forget that stress, because it's such a loaded word, there's positive stress and negative. Certain things like, you and I probably strive off a really good deadline because we want to kind of see an output from that. Other people just can't deal with that.
Yeah, they'll kind of
for
fold
you,
down.
Exactly. For you and I, it could be that if we miss breakfast, it's okay because our body deals with that. With other people,
For me,
that's
not.
a stress problem. For me, I can. But what I would say is first, just take stock and see what things can you change or compromise on. So, if you've got long commutes, is there a way of breaking that commute down? A lot of people just think I need to get from A to B, but actually just breaking it is going to help your mental balance and actually well-being and your gut health as well. Just put that break in. When it comes to traveling, it's hard. You can't stop traveling, especially with these execs that are global. I did 200,000 miles in 1 year.
Yes,
it is
excessive.
It's like, you can't go to your line manager or the employee and say, actually, can I just stop traveling?
Just a moment.
Exactly. So I think it's finding good practices. So one thing that I used to do is I decided a year into traveling, I'm not going to work on the plane.
Okay.
And I think that made so much of a difference for me because I thought I wasn't being productive with all that travel.
That's
time.
what I would think.
Yeah, and actually I was far better checking into the hotel, going to the gym first thing because it helped from the jet lag reset and then working, and I got more things done that way. And the final thing I would say is from a diet and lifestyle perspective, don't feel compelled. We all feel like we've got this kind of daily budget or allowance that our employers give. And if it's $70, $100 a day, we must spend it. No, we don't need to, and just make sure you're serving yourself well. If you're going to be traveling a lot and you're going to actually be living out of kind of your home for quite a while, you don't need to have the English breakfast every day. Maintain your normal routine.
I think that's such a good, that is really, really good advice. Because I've got to admit, I'd go to a hotel and think, I might as well have like a full breakfast. Whereas at home, I'd have either no breakfast, which is not good, or I'd have porridge. So I would never go and have not in the working week in a million years. I just wouldn't do that.
I think it's because we associate hotel as a getaway. So we want to feel like, because I'm in the workplace, I want to feel as though I'm having fun. And there's different ways of having fun. Right? Go explore the place. Make sure if you've got a 9-to-5 day, switch off at 5. Go to the gym. Go do some touristic things. You're going to enjoy that experience and not feel like you have to go reach for that extra glass of wine, the extra meal. And I think just really plan as well. If you know your travel schedule, see how you can actually balance things at home with the travelling so you can keep your routine going.
That is brilliant advice. I'm straight away thinking of people that I can go and share that advice with. So thank you for sharing that.
Welcome.
So what have been some of your biggest achievements so far?
An amazing question. My biggest achievement was actually...
Big question.
I know, it's big for me because of the journey I've gone on personally. So for me, I think my biggest achievement was finding the confidence and empowerment in myself to actually say I want more in my life for myself and for what I want to do for my own values. So I decided to leave the comfort of a very successful role, the creature comforts, as you know, as a corporate structure. And I just decided not for me anymore, and I'm taking a risk. Now, to some people that would be like, oh my God, but I do see that for my nature as successful achievement.
Oh, it's massive.
Me,
I can relate to you, but I understand many people probably will think, oh my gosh. Yeah. So what, if you don't mind me asking, pushed you to that point, to making that check? Because that is pivotal. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So life-changing.
Yeah, and for me it was because it was life-changing. For me, it really was when I was in the hospital. The first time during lockdown, it knocked me for 6. I was very emotional. Yeah. But to be then hospitalised 7 weeks later again, it was almost like the universe is now saying something to me. And then it was where my family and my fiance felt they almost had to do an intervention. And usually I'm very stubborn and bullheaded. They know, when it comes to work, it's a protected space of mine. I will never let other people interfere or advise me. Yeah. But it got to the point where they said, right, this is how you're feeling. This is what it's doing and manifesting into. What are you going to do about it? Because you may potentially be alone going through all of this because we feel powerless. But also, how does it kind of fit in with your own values? You want to help people. You want to be a health coach, yet you're not excelling the virtues.
You're not being healthy to yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was so powerful. That was my pushing point, and I thought, no more.
So actually, so brave and so powerful, because that is so brave. That is so brave.
Sometimes it feels like a weak option.
No.
But I'm glad I've done it. It's empowering. It gives me opportunities like this. The conversations I get to have are so different.
Amount of people that you'll be helping straight away. So it's purposeful.
It's exciting. Yeah,
exciting and purposeful.
And that's the one thing I've learned as a leader. If you have a good purpose and vision, it runs through to whatever you do.
It does.
I found a new passion, really. Yeah. And we spoke about that when we first met. You sound as though you've now found your purpose, which I think is really enlightening.
And I think when you're running a business and there's so many hours that go into it, so much hard work, so much self-doubt at times, and then so much confidence at other times, like you really need it to be something that you're passionate about. And what I find really inspirational about you is that you've actually got this really kind of really inspiring story, something that's led to this point, and then you buy much more into it, don't you? You think, oh my God, Dr Sunni knows about this. Oh, he knows where I am. He knows where I've been or how I felt. So it's really relatable.
Yeah, and I thank it. It means a lot to me. I think that's my raison d'etre. I want people to feel that if they're talking to someone, they're talking to someone that gets it or will find a way of getting it. I think it's so easy for everyone to say, oh, I know what your problems are, without actually realising what
unless you've been there, you really don't.
And I know what it's like to have an unhealthy relationship with food. So it's taken me a long time. I think the corporate world is very good at almost helping you build up your guardrails and your walls. You almost put yourself forward in a particularly kind of constructed manner. This journey has allowed me to kind of free those shackles and say, right, own kind of the things that have happened to me. So my eating disorder as a child, kind of my Crohn's, coming out as an LGBTQ plus leader.
Amazing.
It's, all these things are empowering. Before I was seeing it as my narrative of this is not who you should be, people aren't going to relate to you. Now I just feel freer because people feel comfortable to talk to me about it too.
That is phenomenal.
Thank you.
And also, it's all about being authentic, isn't it?
Yes.
It's about being able to be authentic, you know. But that's another conversation.
That's a minefield.
That's another conversation. Yeah, it's a whole other conversation. I had this incredible journey that we've just touched upon. I'm assuming, and you've sort of touched on a couple maybe, but has there been any sacrifices along the way?
Gosh, I'll tell you my first sacrifice, and this is probably going to be a joke: patience.
Okay.
I felt going from a structured environment, you kind of know kind of the structures, the processes.
Especially big corp.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know how things work. When you become an entrepreneur, all that's out the window. Yeah. But you also, I think because we live in such an age where we expect things to happen a lot quicker, I've lost all my patience. I've sacrificed it out the window. I'm like, I want this done yesterday. The thing is, I'm accountable to myself.
Yeah.
So that's where I think I've probably done it from a joke perspective. Otherwise, I do have to say, I don't think I've sacrificed anything. Have I sacrificed the creature comforts? Yes. Yeah. But at the cost of something far more powerful, so I'm chasing my passion. So if I'm working till 2-3 in the morning, I don't see that as a sacrifice, because I get the balance.
That says it all. And that's probably quite rare to hear, because what I thought you might say is, I've come off this salary and I used to travel lots. I know there's there's impacts to that as well. I used to travel and I had this whole status, because when you're senior in a business, there's a status that comes with that, and a network and all of that stuff. But you haven't touched on any of that.
Oh no,
you were like, I love it so much. I don't really feel like it's a sacrifice.
And I actually thought I would. It's funny you say that, because a lot of my closest friends and my family had said, but you're a business director, you're the youngest business director, you wanted to be the youngest VP in a global top 4 pharmaceutical. Are you ready? And I realised that actually, because I was holding on to that, it wasn't serving my purpose. I was creating this story for me that wasn't my true story. It goes back to the authenticity.
Yes, it does.
So I've sacrificed things that weren't true to myself anymore. Yeah. Now I can be authentically authentic.
Yeah.
So
that is the clap hands moment.
Snap.
Snap. Okay, so you were obviously a business leader. You're now a founder. Is there any advice that you would maybe give to other business leaders of healthy practices that they could incorporate in the workplace or with their teams?
Yeah, I think this is probably the one area that leaders and organisations really need to invest their time, thought and energy behind, because we generally think as an organisational leader, if we're doing kind of good practices from a health and safety perspective, are our employees getting their annual leave and other healthcare benefits, done.
Yeah.
But actually there's more than that. So I think the first thing I would say is probably really have a look at how your employee base are really working. So what's the lunchtime culture like? What's the food culture like? What's the understanding of nutrition and the impact of nutrition in the workplace? If you as a leader and your employees don't understand the link, then there's something there needs to be done to kind of create that conversation.
Okay.
And then keep that conversation alive. Don't feel that, okay, I call up Dr Sunni tomorrow and we'll do a workshop and then forget about it. Good practice and routine, the same way selling techniques, we will always constantly kind of give our kind of employees a framework model.
Yes.
And we'll test them against that framework model. We need to be doing that for well-being in the workplace. I'm not necessarily saying test individuals, but at least make sure you keep the conversation going. So provide unique opportunities, like workshops, lunchtime sessions.
Okay.
Have conversations with your canteen provider. Work with certified coaches that can actually come into your workplace and create that conversation safe space to give you unique opportunities to create wonderful initiatives. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, that's really, really powerful. And I've honestly never heard, all of the things that we talked about before, the annual leave, the policies, all of that kind of stuff. The new thing that I've seen, or the newer thing over the last couple of years, is very much about, these mental health first aiders, which has become really powerful. But I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about food and nutrition in the workplace, and actually it's kind of key. There was obviously all the initiatives throughout the school, and it makes sense now thinking about it that's something that we would carry through in the workplace as well.
I think it's a really good parallel when you talk about schools.
Yeah.
So as parents or adults, we will question what our children are eating at school.
Yes.
And the government have put so much focus on the school lunchbox.
Yes.
But I think what society's done is we've taken nutrition and food for granted as elders. We think as adults we can make the right choices.
Yeah.
But if you're in a busy 9-to-5 plus job, if you've got a very senior role, if you're back to back with meetings, how are you going to think about food? So I almost feel like there's this responsibility that organisations have to themselves and to their employee base to really now having a closer look at kind of food and the food culture, and actually see that you can actually create positive outcomes when you do put nutritional interventions. And there's lots of data there that shows it does happen. We just haven't mobilised it, and we need the right people to talk about it. And that's why I want to use my experience to say it does work and it does happen in a really good way.
Yeah, no, excellent. Now you've really got me thinking. The only thing that I can think of that I ever saw as any kind of maybe nutritional initiative was the fruit baskets.
Yeah.
Like the weekly fruit basket that would arrive in the office. Like that's the only thing that I can think of.
But I think all the organisations do it. And I remember when I interviewed for my previous role with the organisation, when we went to to the office, they say, and we have fruit for you every day. But it is it's almost that golden gifted offering.
Yeah.
But it's more than just eating your 5 a day. And in all honesty, if there's a basket there, it doesn't mean that all your employees are eating their 5 a day.
Oh, 100%.
It's evolved now. Our understanding of nutrition is beyond that. We need to eat 30 grams of fibre a day. We need 30 plant points a week to add healthy kind of long-term years to our life.
Yeah.
So how do you relate that to a fruit basket? You don't, because you could go to the canteen and get chips and a pizza.
Yeah.
So you're creating a quandary and a contradiction, and it's how do you create kind of a harmonious, holistic approach? And I think that's where I really want to be working with organisations to do that.
No, really interesting. And just talk to me about lunch culture. So, for example, I am absolutely someone that does this. I'll grab my lunch and I'll eat it at my desk whilst I'm still working, because to me honestly, it's an inconvenience. I'm like, I haven't really got time for lunch, but I know I need to eat it because otherwise I won't be able to continue working, and then that's going to impact my day. So I haven't got time, to faint.
Life of Scarlett and mine. If I don't eat, this will happen.
I'm going to faint at 6 o'clock, and I've got a call then. So, what do we need to be away from our desk? I mean, my assumption is yes. Do we need to be away from our desk? Is there anything around that you could share with us?
Yeah, so I think it's really important question and aspects. When I spoke about one of the pillars about kind of mindful habits.
Yes.
That is under habits.
Okay.
Now, you've got to remember, just even for your mental well-being, for your gut to also optimize its digestion, we need to be eating more intuitively. We need to be aware. Okay. Now, usually, and the perfect example is with children, sometimes when you put a child at a dining table and you want them to eat, you put them in front of an iPad or a phone. Now, that child doesn't actually instinctively know what they're eating, how often they should be chewing. They'll just probably swallow, and they don't know when to stop. So think of that as an adult, because with a child, you're just focusing on just watching the TV screen. Now, you've just said your whole kind of narrative, if you don't eat, you're thinking about your next meeting, you're thinking about the repercussion about when you get home, what you need to do there. You've got to think about your employees, and then other things. When do you think about Scarlett? So even just having 10 minutes away from that work desk actually just lets you kind of replenish, rebreathe, focus on what's important, which is eating at that time, so you can give you 150% when you go back. So it's incredibly important. And look, I've done it all the time. You just think it's convenient. We think multitasking is like the gold standard of productivity. Actually isn't.
I was just going to touch on that, honestly, because we think we're being so much more productive, but actually in reality we're not. And that, this 4-day week, and again, that's another conversation, but this 4-day working week, some of the statistics are very interesting, So I'm actually going to take that away from this. I'm going to take 10 minutes that I can do and eat and understand what I'm eating and come back.
Do what's achievable. And I used to envy my colleagues that would strictly take their hour lunch break. And you complain about those people. You think, if only I do it. But the operative word is I. You need to be able to just do it, because no one's actually saying to you, you're not going to get the promotion or you're not going to get your project finished because you're serving yourself. If your family or your loved ones did exactly what you were doing, you would have them against the rail saying, no, you shouldn't be doing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ooh. Lots of food for thought. I didn't mean to do the pun. So if there was one thing that you could change in the world of business, what would it be?
So I guess I should say we should be talking about nutrition and gut health. But I'm actually going to do something, this is really personal to my heart. It's about ED&I, but in a different aspect. I wish businesses looked at their talent pipeline at a much earlier stage. So we tend to invest a lot of time on the senior talent pool and pipeline.
You're talking my language.
And I hate it because I come from pharmaceutical industry, and the healthcare industry is quite conservative and traditionalist in their approach on recruitment. I would love to see the new generation of youngsters thinking, where I want to be in 10 years is pharmaceuticals or other niche areas, because we're looking at leaders and we're thinking and expecting that this is the epitome of what organizations are looking for. But the world's different now. I mean, that's one thing that I was testament to. You can be, that, millennial, coloured person from Birmingham, working down south in a kind of a leadership role. You don't need these particular milestones that people feel are imposed on them. So that's what I would change. I mean, that's my little soapbox moment. I do want to see younger talent recognizing different areas of industry with a different lens. But I feel we have a responsibility to do that. You can't just expect people to knock down the door and say, I want to work for you.
I have to totally agree. And you know how many initiatives we run. I have to agree. I think there is absolutely a societal piece. I think there's an employee responsibility, employer responsibility, but there's definitely some accountability that lies with us
Yeah.
as well. So yeah,
definitely.
no, that's really, really good. Yeah, lots of synergy there, lots to talk
Yeah,
about on that
exactly.
topic.
Yeah.
So that leads us very nicely onto what has been your biggest lesson and what is your advice to future generations?
This is probably the easiest of all questions.
Oh, okay.
Because I would love to listen to myself on this piece of advice, which is listen to your gut.
Ooh,
So despite the whole gut health thing,
yeah,
I know so many kind of personal or kind of work experiences where I wish I'd listened to my gut initially. And actually, if you serve yourself in your gut, 99% of the time, you're always going to be right.
and you feel it, don't you? You
You
know.
100% feel it. You know, and I
Yeah.
always say, if your heart, your mind, and your gut are aligned, then you don't need anyone else
Peace.
to attest otherwise. So I would definitely say that. And I'd probably use the same thing for future generations. If you're thinking about taking a risk, if you want to just go network and say hello to someone, listen to your gut. At the end of the day, you actually listen to yourself and empowered yourself.
Yeah.
You don't control how someone else responds or reacts to you. You own you and judge
And that's
yourself.
the power, isn't it?
Yeah,
right
exactly.
there, you know,
Yeah.
absolutely. No,
Yeah.
phenomenal. Thank you. Dr. Sunni, really, really insightful. I feel like there's a lot of food for thought
Yeah.
and some really, really good takeaways, actually. So, yeah, thank you so much.
No, well, thank you.
No,
I've really
thank
enjoyed
you.
this. We've had
Me
so
too.
much kind of really fruitful discussion. So I
Yeah.
really hope it's helpful for your
I know it will be.
listeners,
It will
it's
be.
an amazing opportunity.
And we'll make sure everyone knows where to contact you as
Yes.
well, because I'm sure you'll get some questions on the back of this. I would
Yes,
think
look,
so.
Feel free to contact
Yeah.
me. Really, it's what I'm passionate about. So I'm happy to help people and organisations.
Good. Okay, so now we're going to go into our lightning round.
Gosh.
So it's fast, it's quick, first thought reactions.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
Okay, so what do you like to do for fun?
That's an easy one. I love to spin. I'm a spin junkie. And
Oh, wow.
I teach spin now as well. So yeah. That's
Do
me.
you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
I love it.
that.
It's all about being on the music.
Oh, we're going to have
Yeah.
to
We'll
do
do a spin
this.
class.
Okay, amazing, definitely. What does equality mean to you?
Equality for me is giving any individual an equal opportunity to realise their potential and use any talent and skills that they have.
Oh, nice.
I think, yeah, just respective of gender, race, creed. It's looking at the individual and giving them a pipeline of equal opportunities
Yes.
so they can bring their best.
Absolutely, absolutely agreed. Yes, yes. Okay.
That was fire,
Yeah,
that was
I
just
like,
all
oh,
bullet.
so good. No, that was very, very good. So what would you say to your younger self?
Put those packet of crisps down. No. I would say realise your dreams and don't doubt yourself.
Ooh.
So really understand what your dreams are and chase them as opposed to doubting yourself.
That is brilliant. That's so nice and transparent as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And who inspires you?
So I don't know if this is a cliche or not, but I don't do the whole autobiography reading, etc. But my personal role models and inspiration are my parents and
Yeah.
my fiance, because
Okay.
they're both, first generation migrants. They came to this country, typical migrant story, with
Yeah.
£10 in their
Yeah.
pocket. My fiance didn't even know how to use an ATM.
Wow.
Coming from Malaysia, there was a different relationship with money. He self-funded 6 years in university.
Wow.
He's become a medical doctor. My parents created their own business by themselves. They're not educated, and yet they've, sustained a household for the long term and reared 3 children to become successful kind of job roles in their own right. So for me, that's what inspires me, that you can do things if you put your mind to it, but also sometimes if you've got that impetus to do something, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And what makes an exceptional leader?
No, this is probably your hardest one. I think it goes back to what we said before. I think an inspirational leader is someone that's authentic.
Yes.
So bring yourself, because your whole self, because I used to say this to the sales team that I used to lead. It's not a company that sells a product or a service, it's people that sell the product or service.
Absolutely.
So as a leader, if you want to sell a culture, a success, a KPI, you need to kind of really put yourself there. So I've learned that the hard way, but in a good way. So I think just be yourself through and through.
I love that. I love that. That absolutely agree with that. Okay. And what does sustainability mean to you?
Sustainability. Now, I think it's always used a lot in the ecological and climate
Yes,
sense,
it
right?
is.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in the context of corporate well-being and
Yeah.
kind of the corporate world. So I think it's a resource. So it could be talent.
Okay.
It could be a framework or a philosophy or culture. But you're creating something such that it doesn't deplete over time. So create that legacy where even if it's in talent, you're creating an active pipeline that's sustainable for your organization and your culture. So that's what I think sustainability is for me. It's
I really like that. I really like it. I can home in on that 100%.
Just close to your heart, isn't
definitely very close to my heart. And final one,
Mm-hmm.
tell us a motivational word or phrase to inspire others.
Okay, so I'm going to say 3 words.
Yes.
Which is I am enough.
Oh.
So it's by Marissa Peer. It's a book that I read when I was going through my whole kind of epiphany journey.
Okay.
And that's my mantra. And I think it's important everyone realise that they are enough. Whatever you do, you can doubt yourself, you can judge yourself, you're going to have good days, bad days. But remember, you are enough.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Absolutely brilliant.
There we go.
Thank you, Dr. Sunni. Absolutely. I'm going to go away, taking 10-minute lunch breaks,
Good.
telling myself I am
Snaps
enough.
to you, Scarlett.
Yeah,
Snaps to you. Please
No,
do.
you've been
Please do.
exceptional. Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you. Oh, you're so good. High five, Dr. Sunni.